And we're back here at High Stakes Trading. I'm your host, Decope, and we're going to get right into it today. This is week 2 understanding, and we covered accounting yesterday. And today we're going to be talking all about equity. It's a nice short day, but you really want to understand how equity works, because at the end of the day, as investors and traders, this is where you're buying and selling. You're buying and selling the equity of the company. So the big idea for today is that there's a supply and demand of equity in the markets, just like there's supply and demand of anything in the business. But you really have to understand what the supply is and what the demand is of the equity in the markets, and that's what we're going to cover. So this is an extension of the big idea here. It's a balancing act of outstanding shares, which is the supply, and then volume, which is the demand. So the supply and demand in the stock market is outstanding shares is the supply, and the volume is the demand. And I'm going to show you exactly where to find these numbers for any company that's publicly traded. Okay? So the outstanding shares, if you don't know what that is, that's okay, because I'm going to explain it right now. So when you found a company, you set a certain number of outstanding shares, which represents the company, and that's how you're allowed to divide up the company and sell it, is through these shares, which represents the entire company. So when you found a company and you set the outstanding shares, that's all the shares that exist for that company. Okay? And an example of this would be Inflection Point Inc. When I founded it in 2015, I set 1 million shares outstanding. And the price of the shares has changed a lot over the last 5 years. Okay? It's based on a lot of things, but it's basically what people are willing to buy and sell the shares for. Okay? So that's outstanding shares. It's an arbitrary number set by the company and by their founders or by the board of directors. Okay? It is possible to authorize more shares. The board of directors can make more shares available to investors, and they could do this by a direct offering, or they could do a stock split or something like that. Okay, so those are the options, and where you can find the outstanding shares, if you go on FinViz and you scroll down a little bit, you will see that there's a shares outstanding column, and it's slightly abbreviated. It's SHS outstand, and that stands for shares outstanding. And so for this company, SRNE, on 15 May 2020, we had an alert. It was our weekly alert, and we highlighted this company because there was breaking news, and they found a coronavirus vaccine, basically. So they only had 168 million shares outstanding, but the volume that traded that day was 502 million. So basically, the entire company was bought and sold about 3 times this day, May 15th. Okay, and it was up 160% that week. So that's where you find the shares outstanding. And remember, the outstanding shares is the supply. So the volume is the demand, and you can find the volume in its column as well. It's in the same column, just a different row. It's at the bottom row. Okay, so feel free to click on this link, and this will link you to FinViz. And here's just a graphical representation of how you can see that the supply and demand is not balanced at all. So the shares outstanding was 100 and I think it was 168 million. Okay, it's right at the top in the corner there. So the shares outstanding was 168 million, and then the volume was 502 million. So that's the difference there. That's the imbalance, and that's why we saw SRNE actually gapped up over the weekend, and it opened at 10, and we sold for a 40% profit. So the action item today is to find a company that has a skewed supply and demand on FinViz. And to do this, you're going to go on FinViz by using this link here. You're going to go on FinViz, and you're going to click on Screener, and then you're going to sort by weekly performance. And once you sort by weekly performance and get the highest gainers, so you might have to hit this column twice. Once you sort by weekly performance, then you'll see the companies that were up the greatest this week, and you can see there was 9 here that I clipped out that were up over 80% for the week. Okay, so this stuff does happen, and then see the volume all the way to the end. If you click on the performance tab, then performance week, and click it again, you get the top gainers. And you just scan down through the volume, look for the big volume ones. So the first one was SLS, and it had 29 million in volume. Okay, so if I clicked on SLS and I scrolled down a little bit, I quickly found that the shares outstanding were 8.42 million, and the volume traded was 29.7 million. Okay, so I would call this an imbalance of supply and demand in the market. So that's your assignment for today. Nice, quick, easy day, and I will see you in day 3 of understanding, and can't wait for that. See you then.